Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. The following interview is designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be. Your host, Derek Champagne, is the founder and CEO of The Artist Evolution, a full-service agency building successful brands, marketing tools, and campaigns, and also the author of the best-selling book, Don't Buy a Duck. And now, let's begin today's Leadership Series interview.
Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where our goal is to inspire you to become the best leader that you can be. I'm your host, Derek Champagne. We've got Matt Alexander here today. He's the founder of Illumable. Matt, welcome to the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Matt, we were talking right before we started this interview. I said you've got a story that as hard as you've worked, it makes some of us older entrepreneurs not jealous, but just excited for you and going, man, what a cool story. You from a college kid to having a product that I saw the other day in Bed Bath & Beyond. Yep. You've got a business partner with out of Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank. What an impressive story, and I'm excited that you can share that with us today.
I'm glad to be here. It's been a wild ride. It's been fun.
And I'm looking at some of the timelines for you, and I'm sure it's felt like quite a roller coaster to you, but tell me when your journey started for Illumable.
Yeah, so it started around September of 2014, so about a year and a half ago. I already knew I wanted to start a business. I was on the lookout for different ideas and developing, and so the Illumable specifically was at a family reunion. I was talking to my brother-in-law, who became my co-founder in September 2014, just telling him, it's like, man, I hate turning on the lights and waking myself up in the middle of the night. So my first thought was a floor mat. I'm like, hey, we should make a floor mat that you'd step on and light up. And he says, hey, why don't we just put it on the toilet? And it all started there. We started developing and launched a Kickstarter a month later and raised $100,000 and spent the next 8 months going to China and tooling it up and going through the whole prototyping process and filmed Shark Tank, and it's all history from here. Now we're in Bed Bath & Beyond nationwide, and it's been awesome.
Well, we'll have to go through a few of those timelines a little bit slower because, Again, you're hitting on some big things and big milestones that some businesses take years to get to, and so I want to kind of go into a little bit more into the process of So you're a college student now too.
Yep.
So that's amazing. So you had this idea, and let's talk about Kickstarter, because I'd love to hear more about how long that took you and what you guys were asking for. Tell me a little bit about the process of how Kickstarter was a solution for you.
Yeah, Kickstarter was an amazing solution for us because we're both broke college students, and we had this idea, and we had done a lot of research and some market validation, and we knew we were onto something. We knew there was going to be a demand for it. But we didn't have any money to develop it. So to do the Kickstarter, our goal was to raise $20,000. We figured if we could raise $20,000, we would have enough to tool up a factory. We would have enough to cover all of our costs for a small run. So that was our goal. And we literally just sat down and watched. I probably watched several dozen different Kickstarter, just any successful Kickstarter video I could find. And I just did research. And I'm like, okay, what made them successful? Just so we could implement those in our campaign, because we didn't have any money for ads or anything. So we ended up raising $100,000 in just over a month, and we didn't spend a penny on advertising or marketing or anything.
That's really impressive. I mean, and I know of several successful Kickstarter campaigns, but just because you could put a product or a service on Kickstarter does not mean that's going to be successful. I've seen so many not succeed too. So that's a risk in itself. So just even getting the Kickstarter program to get funded at 5 times you're asking.
It's a lot of work.
It really is, but that's impressive. So go from there. So you get the funding that you need. How quickly were you off the ground with the prototype and with tooling what you needed?
Yeah, so we had pretty fast. So, I mean, it actually went through a lot more iterations than I expected. So we started sending China. Once we knew we had the Kickstarter, like our goal met, we went ahead and gave China a few $100s just to build us some samples with the specifications. And we ended up having to go through, almost 10 different samples. I think they ended up sending us before we finally approved it, just because there's a lot of little tweaks, as I'm sure you know, as you like, it's one thing on paper and it's one thing to have China make it in person. There's a language barrier and there's difference in culture. So we'd have them make a sample and send it and test it. And we had to go through about, I think, almost 10 different versions till we're like, okay, let's do this. And that took a lot longer than expected. We thought when we launched our Kickstarter, we're like, how hard could it be? I'm sure we'll have product in January ready to fulfill. We didn't end up, because our Kickstarter ended on Thanksgiving in November. We thought we'd have it in January. We didn't have it until end of July. So it took about 8 months to actually, from start to finish, to get everything good enough to send to our backers. And we actually went over to China to meet with the factory and to make sure quality control was in place. And just to go through that whole process. And that's when we actually filmed for Shark Tank. We hadn't even fulfilled our Kickstarter yet.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So last June, so it's almost a year ago, is when we filmed our Kickstarter. Filmed our Shark Tank. So that's why on our Shark Tank episode, all we had was $100,000 in sales because we hadn't even fulfilled our Kickstarter.
Wow. Okay. We have tried the product here, and we like to, when we have a guest that's got a product like as featured on Shark Tank, we like to bring it here first and try it. So we have one at our house, which my 4-year-old boy loves, of course, and my 7-year-old daughter thinks is cool.
If you need any more, let me know.
That's awesome. Well, we put one at our agency too, and we actually posted a video on our Facebook. If any listeners go to our Facebook and look at it, of Jay, our brand outreach coordinator on team, actually setting it up. And I think that's in one of our guest bathrooms at the agency now, which is quite a surprise to some people that go in and visit. But a nice little touch. Exactly. It's great. It really is cool. So, and I'm actually looking at Kevin O'Leary's Facebook page right now and seeing that, and you've had this kind of momentum, and then, I know it's been a crazy ride for you, and watching from the outside, you've got Kevin O'Leary with his 90,000 followers here resharing posts from Illumable about your Zulily Shark Tank.
We just had a Zulily sale last week.
Yeah, I mean, that's so cool. I mean, I love what you guys are doing. How did you guys know what to do next? I mean, you've got so many amazing things. You've done it right. It couldn't have all just lined up perfectly by accident.
No, it was a lot of learning. So like I said, before Illumable, I was trying. So I had taken some entrepreneurship classes here at BYU. They have a really good program. So I was doing the prereqs to get into the program.
Okay.
And I had fallen in love. Like, that's why I knew I wanted to start a business. So I consumed every book on business I could find, like Audible. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Audible app, but it's my best friend. Like I'm able to read about 2 books a week on that, just working out and chores and stuff. So I've read every business book I could find. And I started networking with a lot of other local entrepreneurs. There's a lot that donate time to students, and I was able just through them to get just several different really good mentors that have kind of walked this path before. And so whenever I had questions, I would go to them. So I'm like, okay, how do I deal with my supply chain in China? And I could meet up with 3 or 4 different people who've already done it around here. So honestly, it really is who you know, like they say, but it helps so much just to learn from their experience so you don't have to make the same mistakes. So it helped us springboard this so much faster by picking their brains constantly for advice as we needed it.
You've got a great community there too. It seems like several of the entrepreneurs and vendors that I talk with, and some of the groups that I'm in online, Outlier and others, that area of the country there in Provo seems to be a hotbed for just amazing inventors and products, and it's just really incredible.
Yeah, it's the perfect place to start a business.
So tell me more about having guidance and having connections and network like that. Did you feel confident that you had all the resources you need to do it right the first time, or at least you would have the bumpers to keep you in framework that you needed?
I mean, I felt more confident. Obviously, there's still always that risk factor in that. I mean, because you still get so many people telling, it's like, hey, what are you doing? You're crazy. You need to focus on school right now, or you need to focus on, don't waste your money on this, or it's a toilet light. It's stupid. It's never going to work. Or just like, it's just, so I don't know. You just got to not listen to the haters too much. It's like, we knew we had a validated idea. We knew there were going to be roadblocks. And so, we just leveraged them when we could and took risks when we didn't have someone to help us out.
Right. So tell me a little bit about the ride. After Shark Tank, tell me how that thing's changed for you as far as people recognizing you, or as far as the roller coaster that happened for you after that.
It's been awesome. So one thing so a lot of people tend to think that when you get on Shark Tank that you've arrived, but Shark Tank is very powerful if you can leverage it right. So I've actually met a lot of companies, people that have been on Shark Tank, and honestly didn't have much happen afterwards because you're on TV, but that's about it. It's like the true power of Shark Tank comes from being able to leverage that to get doors open with these different buyers at these stores. So like Bed Bath & Beyond and these other stores, and to leverage that brand, because on its own, it's not going to change a lot. So it's been awesome because we're able to really leverage it. We just took full advantage of Kevin O'Leary's his team has been super helpful. Whenever we need help, they'll be on top of it, but they do need direction. They're very busy people.
Right.
So it's kind of on us still to have that drive in that direction and the game plan to to move it forward. And it's been huge, honestly. It's opened so many doors, and we've been able there's so much trust in that brand too that helps with selling it. Just being able to get it on the packaging and get it on our website. And it's been wild. I mean, when we aired, we did $100,000 overnight, like a day. And we did over $1 million that month.
Wow.
The Shark Tank. And we're well past that in sales now.
Wow.
So it's been a wild ride, but it's been awesome. Like it's been working 100 hours a week for the last year, but it's paying off now.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that. What kind of workload was it? Is it what you expected? Is it a lot of the work still on you? Are you able to grow your team quickly?
We've been able to grow our team more now. So now I'm able to hand a lot of more stuff off. But that first year was literally about 100 hours a week.
Wow.
My wife's amazing. She was very supportive because it was just two of us and we didn't have money to outsource anything. But now that we have plenty of capital and we have the resources, we got in partners, so we got a solid team where that can all be split, so we can focus on our strengths, and I don't have to work 100 hours a week. Tell
me a little bit about being married and having this, and all of us that have families are always looking at how do we, I mean, when you're entrepreneurially wired, it's really hard to ever put that aside. It's just one of those screaming callings that wakes you up in the morning before an alarm clock.
Really does.
Right? And I mean, you can't, even if you try to subdue it, it just causes more ideas to come out. Not all good, but still.
Yeah,
and
totally.
So how do you balance that with your family? I've got 2 kids, a wife, and everyone I talk to always is always looking for that answer. How do we chase hard to succeed for our future generations, but also find balance in life? What's been your secret to that so far?
Honestly, I think it's just 2 things, like putting them first, but then being flexible on when that happens. Because it's like, and my wife knows that. It's like I will drop my business, I will let it burn before I would let my relationship with her dwindle. Like, and she knows that. She is first, so because she knows that, because whenever there are important things to do with her, I'm there for it. She's fine with me staying up when she goes to bed and getting work done, or she's fine with me doing it throughout the day. So it's a crazier schedule. Most people are 8 to 5,
right? And
then they're off the rest of the day. For me, it's like since I'm my own boss, I can get the time off when those most important quality moments happen. So I make sure to have a date with my wife every night and make sure to have an hour or so with her every day, and then I can work again. So I think that's helped because she doesn't feel neglected, and she knows she's number one, and then she's fine with me working these other crazy hours. So I think it's just more flexibility then, because I mean, as you know, it's like some weeks you're going to be working every day, all night, and then other weeks you're going to have more time, and you can. So I think it's just that flexibility.
That's great, and understanding you need a balance. And so,
exactly.
and it can get out of whack if you don't.
Yeah, and it makes you more productive. I mean, that's one thing that I think we forget is, like, you're more productive when you do take breaks and when you have that support of your family and when you do exercise and eat healthy. So it's like sometimes not working a few hours will make you more productive for the 10, 12 hours you are working.
Yeah, that's a great point.
You're going to have quality over quantity.
That's great. Yeah, we just got back from a family camp over the weekend. I think it's the first time in a couple of years that I've had my phone turned off for a few days. And I like what the camp did. I think they scramble it on purpose, but there's absolutely not even a phone signal from Friday to Sunday evening. Cool. So it was a new experience, but very important. And I think my kids enjoyed seeing that there was no looking at the phone the whole time.
Yep.
But Sunday night, yes, back to the computer to get caught up. So.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit more about going on Shark Tank for just a minute. Tell me that experience of when you got on there and what it felt like, and just tell me about the confidence you felt in there. And
yeah, so it's a very long application process. So there's just a lot of different forms you fill out, and they kind of filter it down through. But I mean, you get from what I can't talk about. There's certain things I can't talk about just because it's the magic of the show. But it's a cool experience. Like you go through a lot of paperwork and a lot of different interviews, and then eventually they fly you out. And it's pretty cool. They're all super supportive, honestly. Like what you don't see is you're actually in there a lot longer than on TV. Like on TV, it's 8-10 minutes, but the average time is usually closer to an hour.
Okay.
So they're digging in a lot deeper, but they're all very supportive, honestly. Like everyone on there, like they're not, I don't feel like any sharks are ever mean for the sake of being mean. They really are trying to help you succeed, whether or not they do a deal with you, which is one thing that's pretty cool about it, that they really do want you to succeed as a business.
Right.
And so it's your head's kind of spinning when you're in there, because you see them on TV and then you get out there and you're like, they're in front of you and it's real. So it's kind of a trippy experience in that sense. But honestly, the butterflies kind of go away because you've been preparing for it for months, like practicing your initial pitch and like just knowing your business front to back. So it's almost dreamlike though, because you get out there and you do it, and then you're done. You're like, did that just happen? Like, is that because you see it on TV so much, but then like you're there in front of them, so it's just a different level. But they're all really friendly, supportive people at the end of the day. Like when we went out there.
So how long from I've talked to previous guests who actually did not get a deal and actually didn't have the best experience, and she knew well in advance that when it was going to air, so she was preparing investors that it was coming up, and it was kind of a negative thing for her. But tell me how long was it until it actually aired once you shot the show? We
filmed in June last year, and it aired in March of this year.
Yeah, wow. So, how hard is it to be patient during that time?
It's pretty hard because you can't tell people about it.
Right.
So it's like you can't tell people you're dealing with, because then you're busy still. You're dealing with the due diligence and after the show to get the investment to go through and with all of that. So it was pretty crazy.
How do you stay grounded and stay focused on the products that you're creating in your business when you're starting to have more people recognize you and starting to have the things you had wanted to accomplish come true in such a fast amount of time? Has it been easy to keep from being distracted? What gives you balance, keeps you grounded?
I think it's been good. Well, I think it's been twofold. I think success you can leverage that momentum. So success begets success. So it makes you that much faster at, like, we have other products we're going to be releasing later this year that took me a year and a half to do the Illumable, but now I can spit these out in 6 months because I have that experience and these connections now. So that helps. And then I think just remembering that it's not as hard as everyone thinks. In some ways, it's harder, like emotionally, like the roller coaster. But when it comes to actual work, honestly, it's not that hard. You just have to just have grit and be perseverant.
Right.
So I think that's one thing to remember. It's like, I'm not smarter than anyone else. I'm not better than anyone else. It's just, you just do it and you just don't give up. And I think that's one thing to remember. It's like almost anyone that's ever been successful is they just worked hard and sacrifices. They weren't necessarily smarter or better or anything. So I think it's one thing now is I've been trying to help a lot of other just fellow students. So I've had a lot of people come to me since Shark Tank that want advice, and I just help them out because my mentors were there for me. So it's time to pay it forward because what's the point of success if you're not helping others and if you're not improving the world around you? Like, it's hollow.
I love that. I think that's great. I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs have scratched for a long time in order to, I know my agency was a few years on the ground that were really lean to get it off the ground before we really started taking off, and a few other businesses like that as well. And I think sometimes when that happens, it's harder to get outside of that development phase and start mentoring others. So I really love that it's happening faster for you and you're going right into that mentorship role, which is really important, and to realize that already at this soon that giving back and helping others is kind of one of the next rites of passage when you start to do well as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
So what other advice would you have for our audience, maybe those that are either looking at a product or service and are just in the early stages of tinkering with design? What are some things that stood out to you, the biggest landmarks or milestones for you?
Honestly, one of the biggest ones was just like they say, it's kind of cliche, but it's just do it. Just go for it. So I spent a year and a half, I was a wantrepreneur. It's like I want to start a business, but it was after my homework and after my job and after all these things. And it was only 6 months before I thought of the Illumable that I decided, it's like, I'm all in. That's it. It's like, I'm going to work 40 hours a week on this no matter what. Like, I had my other job, but it's like, I'm going to devote full time to this. And I hadn't even thought of the Illumable yet. I just knew it was like, I'm going to start a business. And once I jumped all in, like, it's crazy how fast it happened. Wow. Once I was just dedicated. So I think just be decisive. I think sometimes we spin our wheels too much because we're afraid of the risk or we're afraid it's going to be too hard. And I think that's bigger than anything, is just go for it. Like, the worst that could happen in America, like, it's impossible to fail. If you fail, the worst that happens is you just go get a job again and then you just go while you work on something else on this side. Like, you can't lose in today's age in America if you work hard. So I don't think there's as much risk as people think. So just go for it.
That's great advice. And you described it very well. It is a mindset. And for me, I've been in a few different careers as an entrepreneur because you just get that wiring of, I'm going to go do it, and then look for the opportunity. And when it presents itself, build it well and be committed and dedicated and do it with excellence. The worst that happens is you go get another job while you think of your next idea, right?
Yep.
Are there any things that concern you that you worry about as you're growing?
Yeah, and there's sometimes I try to remind myself, like, it's sometimes I do get worried now because you start to see like knockoffs show up in the market or things like that. Like we're still well ahead in the market, but you get worried. It's like, oh, they're going to take away everything I had. But I also just have to ground myself and remember, it's like, look what we've been able to do in a year and a half.
Right.
It's like, even if it were to fail, we would walk away with all the capital and experience and connections we made, and we can always do it again and be that much better and faster at it. And just enjoy, because I think sometimes I stress too much, because before there was nothing to lose. And so it was just an adventure every day trying to do it. And for a while I was starting to lose that. I'm just like, oh man, what if I lose everything I built? And I got to remember, it's like, so what? It's like, you're going to be that much smarter. You had an amazing experience. You were on Shark Tank. You went to China. You did all these things where it's like, I need to remember that it's like, it's not life or death, so that's one thing we focused on, kind of regrounding ourselves in that sense, that just enjoy the journey and keep developing and growing ourselves in our business, and that it's always changing. And so we can't fear the unknown. And we were starting to get afraid of that, like my baby's going to get taken away from me, but it never happens. It's almost never as bad as you expect. Like all those worries almost always tend to go away. So it's like you stress over nothing. So that's one thing we've been focusing on recently, just like, don't stress about anything you can't control. Yeah, and it's all working out.
That's great. I love that advice. Thanks for sharing that. And I think the key word that you said several times is enjoy. And yeah, when we start to see a level, the journey's fun, right? The climb is fun because you're producing something. But yes, once you've produced and you have it there, yes, it's like your baby, and you don't want it taken away. So sometimes we forget to enjoy it. So yeah, that's great for our listeners to remember, is to enjoy what you're doing. That's why we invented it. That's why we started it. Yep. So I love that advice. So are there any iterations or new products or things like that you're allowed to talk about that might be coming soon?
You'll just have to keep an eye out in a couple months. You'll see some exciting stuff. So we're kind of keeping under wraps for now, but a little later this year, keep your eyes open.
Awesome. I love following your story. Is there anything else you want to share with us today?
Thanks for having me on. It's been a wild ride, honestly. And I think honestly that anyone that has an idea they're working on should just go for it. And like we talked about before, just reach out to mentors. Like if anyone wants my email, I'll be happy to answer questions and help. Because it's like, there are so many things that I wish I knew that it's like those mentors helped me, and I wish I could have known faster. So just don't be afraid to go for it and reach out. Almost every successful person I've ever met is more than willing to sit down over lunch or emails or phone calls and just give back. So take advantage of that. That's one thing I think a lot of people don't realize, and so they don't take advantage of it.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. That's great advice. So tell me where we can find IllumaBowl. I know Bed Bath & Beyond. I know at illumabowl.com, ILLUMI, bowl.com.
Yeah, we're in a lot of Ace Hardwares nationwide. We're in Bed Bath & Beyond nationwide. IllumaBowl.com, how you spelt it, and Amazon and eBay, so all over online.
Excellent. Matt, thanks for being our guest today. We really appreciate you, and we are excited to continue to follow your exciting journey.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You've been listening to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. This interview was designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be. Take a 5-minute complimentary marketing assessment for your business. Whether you're a startup or an established brand looking for more quality customers for your business, this confidential assessment will help you identify the next logical steps for appropriate marketing tools, strategy, and development for making sure your branding and marketing campaign is a success. Visit AssessMyMarketing.com today. That's AssessMyMarketing.com.